Let's go to college basketball. We've got number 21 at Maryland. You got Maryland -2, over under at 137. What's your early take on that game? And I would just say for anybody watching on our live stream or listening to us on the podcast, Bo and I have double connections. We both went to Pitt. He is now the sports director at WPTS. I was the sports director at WPTS, but we're both from the DMV. So we can't help but look at the teams that, we kind of grew up watching or know about.
I'll even say I have even more of a, intrinsic biases here because my dad went to Rutgers. So I grew up a Rutgers fan, and UMD rejected me. Despite kind of rooting on an adjacent basis for UMD throughout my childhood. Now it's kind of the other way a lot of times.
UMD, that's sad. That's sad. The turtle feared you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The turtle feared you. So we got this game. I mean, gosh, -2. How do you pick a basketball game at -2? I mean, to me, this is pretty much a push. You don't, right? I'm not picking either one of these, but I think that if you're looking at a Maryland team, they're no slouch. I mean, that's why it's so close. I think that you could see Maryland winning this game and very easily knocking the Rutgers Scarlet Knights out of the top 25. Yes?
Yeah. I think it's interesting, kind of getting into the start of Big Ten play here for both teams. We got underway yesterday, Sunday, I guess that would be with Michigan and Penn State, and what turned out to be a really competitive game down the stretch there. And I think we're probably going to see something similar down in College Park tonight. These are two teams that are going to be competitive in the Big Ten. UMD, I think, is projected to have a little more of a fall-off year. They lost, a couple guys to the NBA. They still have a decent amount of talent there for Mark Turgeon. But, I think this was supposed to be, or last year really was supposed to be a big breakout year for Rutgers and Steve Peichel. It was going to be the first time they made the NCAA tournament in a while, and they bring a lot back. Right now, the big knock on Rutgers is they don't have Geo Baker, one of their standout guards who hasn't played this season yet due to an ankle injury. He just returned to practice. They're looking to get him back pretty soon. I don't expect him to be a serious contributor at all in this game, but they've still had a pretty successful season so far without him. They're obviously going to need him getting into Big Ten play, but Ron Harper Jr., a name you might recognize. They have, one of their all-star or stud freshmen, really, Big Chris Omaroye, recruit, 4-star out of New Jersey. He's been fantastic for them down low. I expect a really close game. I'm going to lean towards, what was the over, like 135?
137.
137.
I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I would lean towards the over there. Both of these teams, pretty good scoring, decent defense on both sides, but I would definitely lean towards the over. And I'm actually going to lean towards Rutgers money line. They opened at plus 120. They're down to plus 112 now, so it's basically a pick 'em, but you're still getting a little bit of those positive odds. I think that's better than how to deal with a half spread, which, we talked about it a couple weeks ago with Baylor and Illinois. When you get down or I think it was the Baylor-Gonzaga game, when you get down the stretch, you're making free throws, you're fouling. It's just hard to, especially in these really close games where, maybe there's, 15 seconds on the clock and a team leads by 3, the other team's going to be fouling. They're going to be sending them to the free throw line. And, you're just not going to want to deal with that spread. Might as well just take the money lines. The other game I'm looking at tonight is another, another really good game. You have Marquette at Creighton. Creighton, I think they're up to 6th in the country under Greg McDermott out there. Marquette's been a good team so far. They have a couple solid wins. They beat Wisconsin, and they have another solid win. But Creighton's still favored by 7 points, and I actually like them at home. That's something I kind of wanted to touch on with Maryland a little bit is, the Xfinity Center down there in College Park. That's normally a pretty solid, home court advantage for the Terps.
Yeah.
And this year, it's just not going to be there. It's going to be, that cavernous, empty feeling that we're all getting used to at these live sporting events. And, I think that might affect the Terps a little bit. I don't see that affecting Creighton as much. I think Marquette will give them a close game, but I do think that the Blue Jays will pull away down the stretch there. I'm going to take Creighton minus the points, -7. And again, I'm taking Rutgers money line as they open their Big Ten season at Maryland.
I'll take Creighton to win, cover, and the under. They're 3-2 against the spread. Marquette Golden Eagles are 3-3 against the spread. But as you talk about, the thing that I think everyone has to remember, especially when you're thinking about betting, not just thinking about, oh, this will be a good game, is the fact that there are no fans. So there is no home court advantage or home field advantage the same way anymore. The Maryland Terrapins are 4-1, 3-2 against the spread. Rutgers Scarlet Knights are 4-0, 1-2-1 against the spread. I'm taking Maryland to win and cover, and I'll take the over there. I could see the Maryland game though ending up on a bad beat. I know that if you're watching ESPN late at night, you see SVP Scott Van Pelt.
Scott would love to have the Terps on bad beats.
Yeah, I know that he would, and this may be one of those games. Corey Stills in our chat saying LSU is killing it. Well, they're killing it in two ways. They're playing right now. If you want some action, yes, there's some college basketball action. LSU beating Sam Houston State 45-37, but I'm sure he's also talking about LSU beating Florida as well. So LSU athletics overall is killing it. So Corey is quite happy. If you're looking at college basketball overall in team future, so to speak, I know it's early to talk about college basketball champion, but as we continue to forge ahead, every sport is just forging ahead no matter what. You can get Gonzaga at plus 450, Villanova at plus 700. The team I like that I feel like no one is will pay attention to because of where they are. Is that like Iowa at plus 800? Yeah. The other Luka. Who knew about this other Luka out there who's from the DMV area, by the way?
Yeah. Murray grad.
Yes.
The coach at Murray was somebody's son.
Now I can't go that deep. You know that
Driscoll,
more than me.
Lefty Driscoll's son, Greg Driscoll. He's just absurd. I don't know if you watched any of that Iowa State game. Rivalry game late. I mean, he
was on the bench for most of the first half, and he just lights it up in the second half.
He missed one shot. He was in foul trouble a little bit. He comes back onto the court, goes 8 for 8, including 5 for 5 from 3, ends up with something close to 30 points. I mean, he is the scoring leader in the entire NCAA, averaging close to 30 points a game. It's
Luka Garza.
Absolutely incredible to watch Luka Garza. Just an absolute machine. And when you look at that Iowa team, right, I mean, we're talking about the Big Ten here, right? It's a deep, deep conference, and Iowa is right now the favorite because of, you have Wisconsin losing early. You have Illinois losing the other night to Mizzou on a little bit of an iffy, flagrant call on Kofi Coburn, but we can leave that alone. Iowa is deep. They are deep. They have, Connor McCaffrey, Jordan McCaffrey, the two coaches' sons who are decent contributors, not exactly what you'd expect from a coach's son. They're just walk-ons. They're just
right. Yeah.
No, these guys can play. You have Jordan Bohannon, who's pretty good, a great guard who can bring some outside shooting, and then you have a big man machine with one of the nicest strokes that you'll ever see from the 3-point line for a guy of his size. I mean, he will nail 3 3-pointers in a row, come down on the next possession and get you that offensive rebound and put back easy peasy lemon squeezy. He's dominant down low, and if you leave him open from three, he will make you pay. It is just incredible to watch. There's a reason he's the odds-on favorite to win the Wooden Award. I think Ayo Dosunmu, one of the guards from Illinois, is the next favorite. He's at like minus 500. Garza is something close to minus 200. Dosunmu's plus 500. Sorry. There's a reason he is that favored to win the Wooden Award, because there's nobody else that has this sort of scoring impact on both ends of the floor that Luka Garza has for Iowa.
The first thing that comes to mind for me when I see how well he's playing and having a standout season is, how did he slip by everybody to end up at Iowa?
I think he was recruited by like Georgetown, Notre Dame, not really any of the blue bloods.
Yeah.
And so I think it is, great pickup for Fran McCaffrey to come down to DC and get him out. But he is just turned in. And I think Iowa really is the perfect example of what could happen to a college basketball team when guys come back. Garza could have left last year to go to the NBA, probably would have been a late first round pick, maybe early second round. There are some people saying he's still going to be in that same range next year. If he makes it out of the top 15 of the NBA draft, that is a travesty.
Yeah.
And I'll just say it right now. Whoever gets him, below 10, below 15 is getting an absolute steal.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that. We'll see what happens the rest of the college football and basketball season with Bo, as he has great insight as usual. Thanks, Bo.